Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11 and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I came, sat right back there, and Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass, and I knocked on the door and I told the secretary I wanted to meet Reverend Powell. She looked down this little 11-year-old boy. She said, "Really?" She said, "Who should I say?" I said, "Reverend Al Sharpton."
That call means dignity. Means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my fellow.
Reverend Al Sharpton has been a steadfast advocate for the power of voting since the 1990s, always encouraging us to get out and make our voices heard at the polls. In these challenging times, there is no better moment than now to stand up, fight back, and vote for what's right. With so much at stake in the world and in our government, it's crucial that we take action and participate in shaping our future. Your vote is your voice. Let it be heard. Voting is the expression of our commitment to ourselves, one another, this country, and this world. Reverend Al Sharpton.
I've been in the Essence Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they keep hope alive, keep hope alive, keep hope alive, keep hope alive, keep hope alive. Thank you, God.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better.
The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers, and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation by calling me at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you go on the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And Bruce Turner is already on the message board saying, "Good Trouble Tuesday, rise up and do something positive." Hello, Rev and Nan message board. Yeah, we call it Tell It, Tell It, Tell It Tuesday, but I like Good Trouble Tuesday. Let's do Good Trouble Tuesday and Tell It Tuesday. It's much to talk about. I love it. And Joanne Hopkins says, "Good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton, and a terrific Tuesday to you." Same to you. Same to you, Ashley. I appreciate you. Have a blessed day. Ashley Mills says from the DMV. Now, a lot is going on in Washington as I speak. Both the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, and Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, are in Washington. And they're there for the funeral services today of former Senator, well, the late Senator, Lindsey Graham. And both Zelensky and Netanyahu were going to the White House to meet with Trump. And it's very interesting because, one, it is clear that the United States has not been able to successfully do what it intended to do in Iran. And now Trump is saying that the Iranians want to come back to the table and talk peace. The Iranians are saying we didn't make no such request. I think he's backed himself in a corner. And the question is, does Netanyahu, who's in the middle of an election, and his greatest vote for me appeal has been that I just supported Donald Trump. I got the United States on my side. Is he going to try to push Trump to even be more aggressive in Iran? That's one question. Zelensky, who Trump tried to humiliate in their first meeting months ago, now seems to have some cards. You know, if many of you remember, Trump said, "You don't have no cards. Putin is going to deal with you. You don't have no cards." Well, looked like Zelensky went and got some cards, because with the air raids over Russia, with the fact that they're still standing in Ukraine, looks like he has not been bum-rushed or quickly dismissed of by Putin like Trump seemed to think. Now, that does not mean Netanyahu, that Putin can't talk him into something. So let's talk about all of that on a global level, from Iran and Israel to what's going on in the whole battle around Ukraine. I see you, Randy Davies is saying, "Good evening, Rev. I'm watching from Liberia, West Africa." I'm coming to Liberia soon. I met last week the UN ambassador from Ghana, and I'm talking about after the march, August 28th march in Washington, going to both Ghana and Liberia and bring a delegation. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let me also say we need to talk about how Trump has now appealed to the Supreme Court to have an expedited decision federal judges are openly questioning how the Justice Department can remain truthful and honest and accurate information in court. ProPublica reviewed hundreds of cases and found more than 40 rulings in which judges specifically challenged the presumption of regularity, the assumption of government officials act lawfully and in good faith. So they're getting, a lot of judges is finding some fault in how the president has moved forward. And when he is going now to the Supreme Court again, a court that he helped to bring into existence, that some of the nominees, it always is a cause for pause because he's asking them to intervene after a local federal judge said that it was illegal what he was proposing in terms of the voting laws. He, of course, wants to have voting laws where everybody's checked, double-checked, and the so-called SAVE Act. And federal court said he couldn't do the parts he wants to do. He's trying to get the Supreme Court to overturn it. And again, I keep saying to all of the cynics out there, and most of you know some, many of us have them in our family, that why are they fighting like this to try to control who can vote if voting didn't matter? All of this talk that is clothed as militants is really selling us out to the right wing and Trump. All of this clothed as militant language, I don't vote, I just want my check and da-da, that is covering up either that you don't know what you're talking about or that you are there to help cause confusion so people won't vote so the Republicans and Trump can stay in power. Because there's no other logical reason that I could think you would say things that are such absolutely negative as that and opposite of the truth. So let's talk about all of it. It's Tell It Tuesday, Tell It Tuesday, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Keeping it real.
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do study, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set away. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is.
Many people People cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
Yeah.
The only thing that will matter 2 minutes after you're gone is what you did for more than yourself. Think about this. Think about if today is your last day. If this is your last service, what can they say about me? And if you're not satisfied with your own answer, you should leave here today working on yourself and building on what you need to build. Because God is here, He's available to you if you but use what He's giving you to be more than self-indulgent. Now I know many of us come with reasons we won't step out. But I come to tell you that's why God is here. God takes the ones that are the least likely and gets the most done. As I have seen in my life, people that were the unexpected and rejected are the ones that end up the greatest. So don't let whatever mistakes or whatever things that may be in your past hold you back. God is not trapped in your past. God is there for your future. And he's there that every day you wake up was a divine decision he made to give you another opportunity to serve.
I see I'm in today's New York Times word puzzle, and they're asking what is Al Sharpton's title for short. It's Rev. I didn't know everybody knew that. But people in the New York Times, they didn't call me Rev. They should call me Reverend. No.
Center itself, the millions to billions, give a sense of value. Our history is worthless. We're not a worthless people. We're not a people that are just some ghetto drugs. You know, sometimes we are places that we were destined. And this one shows us that we are.
Where in history is this? He said we always go one step forward and two backward. Well, here we are now. The problem is not Trump. The problem is us. We are allowing ourselves to be lowered and our children to feel inferior because you don't have an I am somebody person. You got our artists calling our women bees. Our others calling us niggas. What happened to us? What happened to black and proud? What happened? I'm gonna vote. What happened? Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. What happened to us?
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. It's Tell It Tuesday. Good Trouble Tuesday. I like that. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to our message board at nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And let's go to the phones. Let's start with the phones. Let's go to Robert in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD, the word.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Yes, my question is, why is the Democrats or Andy Beshear in Kentucky doing anything about McConnell's seat? It's been very quiet. Nobody's mentioned anything about what they're going to do. And if that was Mr. McConnell, he would have been replaced that person who's been out for a month. So my main concern would be, why haven't Andy Beshear in Kentucky do anything to hold a special election for that seat, since Mr. McConnell is not showing any kind of signs, or his wife is not speaking about his condition?
Well, I mean, I think that it is a very relevant question you're raising. I know that Governor Beshear was on my show, Politics Nation, about 2 weeks ago and called on the Senator McConnell and his family to come public. And later that day, they came out with this picture of him. And since then, and that's been 2 weeks, I think they came out with another picture yesterday. And the hospital or nursing home or whichever facility he's in, I'm not certain, is saying that he is not of enough health to go back to work. But there's been no definitive statement on his health by a doctor or by his family. And I think that it is increasingly clear that whatever he's ailing from, it seems to be more serious than they thought. In terms of your question of why won't Bashir go forth and do something, I think that if I recall right, Bashir was saying that the Kentucky Constitution gave him the right to intervene under certain circumstances. I don't know if those circumstances have been met yet. That'd be a very good question for me to raise to Bashir again, because every state constitution is different. So I don't know if just based on him feeling he's too sick, can he remove him? Does he need evidence? Just like we want evidence that he's not sick, does he need evidence that he is sick in order to remove him just like that?
All right.
All right, thank you for your call. Let me go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray.
Appreciate Rev. Thanks for taking my call. Me personally, I don't worry about Mitch McConnell. Him and his family to the side. Whoever they get to put in this place is going to vote Republican. They're going to vote with Trump anyway. Just like
I don't know if the governor decides. I don't think Bashir would put a MAGA Republican there. Bashir is a Democrat and wants to run for president. I don't think on the Democratic ticket, I don't think he'd put a MAGA person in there if it is only up to the governor.
Okay, the reason why I say that, though, I thought, now I could be wrong, if it's like Lindsey Graham, does it depend on the governor? If it's a Republican senator, you have to have a Republican replacement replacing that senator?
No, again, I do not know the Constitution, but I know they could not dictate that it has to be the same party. That I'm sure of. No, he can appoint who he wants. If he can make that appointment. The trick comes in is, does he have to make that appointment and it vote by the Kentucky legislature to uphold it? That I don't know. But I know that he does not have to go by the same party, no.
Okay, now let me say this. When it comes to the 2025 project, which a lot of people don't bring up anymore, he dismantled the government. He laid off hundreds of thousands of federal workers. Doge gutted a lot of institutions. The FBI, members of the FBI and the DOJ, the experienced ones, they were fired. And I'm sure Trump made billions of dollars, and he gave contracts to companies that his company invested in. So, and I'm thinking, is all this a project of is a result of the 2025 project? Now, say he's working awfully hard for these last 2 years, going to the Supreme Court for the Save America Act. He's doing more. How can I put this? He's working extra as hard as he was when he was running for president. Something is going down in these next 2 years that he hasn't done yet that we don't know. And I'm thinking it's something to do with that 2025 project. I'm like, what else can they do? What else is the Senate and the House is going to let him do in these last 2 years if they keep the House and the Senate? Him going to the Supreme Court, it's almost like, okay, he's being bullied in the street. Now he's going to go to his daddy, and his daddy is going to try to make it all better. So there's something going down. I don't know what it is. No one talks about it. That Angelo Carusi, he's all up on that 2025. I know he's on the Cole Walter show a lot. And when I watch it, he doesn't say, well, this is coming next, and it's all due to 2025 project. It's as if everything they put in that 2025 project was complete, but I don't think so. So, that's just my opinion, my thoughts.
All right. Thank you for your thoughts and your opinion. Let me go to Let me go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, WURD. Brother Jacob.
Hey, peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your global listeners, man. You know, the brother just said it. You know, when we really look at it, Rev, we ain't got no whole lot of options to save this union, this republic, this democracy, right? And it's a call. I see you putting out a call for the real patriots, right? See, the ones who respect the Constitution, that our young people just went over there in a war, and they stayed true to their oath to the Constitution to protect it against enemies, foreign and domestic. They gave their lives, right? And then you have a leader that we all see. We shouldn't have to say anything to anybody. I don't care what label you wear. Independent, progressive, LGBTQIA, Latinos, whatever label you wear, and you American citizen able to vote, we shouldn't have to say one more word of what's going on to know what we have to do. And like the brother just said, the House and the Senate put in better representation, first of all, the Democrats, to be the majority vote. And that's what we have to do, to put the brakes on this guy. That's one of the major things that we have to do. Because then when he starts proposing all these simple things, it's no. It's no. Without people standing up scared to say no because they're scared of him and what evil he will put against them, right? So, man, them days is over, and we got to do what we got to do. I say to America what the black man is saying. We ain't going out like that, okay? And like our ancestors said, we ain't going to let nothing turn us around. And we've been working to save this union ever since it's been a union. But we need all of you who understand what they see, not what people are telling them, what you feel. What the one of the presidents said, are you better off today than you were? All you got to do is to tell the truth. And there ain't no other option. Like I said, all this in-between stuff and playing around. This is not a time to play. This is real. This is not a test. And if you really love this country and what the potential is in America, then you're going to try to save it. And it ain't but one place to go other than over there with the clown show, the craziness. And it would be okay if it was just that. But it's evil with it. So no, we got to kill that noise, right, Rev?
I agree. Thank you for your call. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
They lost. Last night I said I'm not even going down there. I'm going to go to bed. I got to fly to Hampton on to Chicago. And by halftime I said, man, they ain't going to win this game. They down 29 points. And somebody here today, you've been down. They counted you out. People say there's no way you come back. But I come to tell you, don't quit. For there's another half to play. And God will take you and let you win when the odds are against you. I know they talk about you, but preach anyhow. I know sometimes the pews are empty, but preach anyhow. And when you get up almost where you could win, I looked at it last night and Brunson took the shot. It looked like it was going in to win the game, but the shot hit the rim and all hope was gone. But then an African named Boyd OG just stretched through the crowd and he kicked in the winning shot. If you hold on, God to tip your win. I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Shear knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said to Al, Meeks, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior said, here's disciple number one. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, but we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had.
Voting rights!
Voting rights.
Everyone look here.
Say it again, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights!
Voting rights. One more time, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights!
There we go. Voting rights.
Voting rights!
Voting rights.
Voting rights!
Voting rights.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we need it?
Now. Yesterday.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler.
Al Sharpton, and we're back.
I kept
1-877-532-5797. Don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. And I'm already working to get the pertinent people in the midst of what is going on the show. Last week I had everyone from Hakeem Jeffries to Congressman Cleo Fields, major figures in the U.S. Congress. We have governors on and others this week. I'm already working on it. Make sure you watch it every Saturday and Sunday at MS Now. Saturday Action Rally, if you're in the tri-state area, you need to be there. I'll be there this Saturday. Got a little medical situation tomorrow, but I'll be back and at the Saturday Action Rally. I'll be on the show, but on this show, but I'll be at the Saturday Action Rally looking for you, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice of National Action Network, 124th Street in Morningside. Formal address is 6 Hancock Place. Hancock Place is about 3 blocks long. It is actually 124th and Morningside. If you go, you that are not in the New York area can watch it live on Impact Television on nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can watch it on YouTube/NAN, or as one would want, AME Zion Network. So we want everybody to pack that house out every Saturday as we gear up for the big march on Washington, August 28th, and I'm getting all kind of calls. People saying, how do I get to a bus? People saying we need to stand up. We have not done anything national against what Trump has done to voting and DEI. Well, we're doing it August 28th, the anniversary of the 63 March on Washington. But we're not going to anniversary salute. We're going to commit to the things that they're trying to take back from the 63 marches, Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act. We're going to march and raise our voices and show the tens of thousands of us gearing up for that midterm election in November. We'll be just about 3 months out, August 20th. Make sure you're there. Make a statement. Make a wake-up call. Let me know what you need to know to get there, or let me know you're coming. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Carrie Wilson is on our message board saying, question, I'm a homeowner and pay all the city, state property tax. I called the Lafayette, Louisiana Department for an appointment for the chief of police. The secretary, Ms. Cherie, didn't plug me in on the chief of police appointment book. And then it cuts off. Do y'all have the rest of that? I do not see the end of that. let's see if we can pull that up. Because if I can answer and help her, I will. Let me, in the meantime, let's go to Keith in Atlanta, Georgia. Keith, you keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sharpton.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. So I'm calling. Thank you for taking my call. I got a quick question. I know I hear people talking about ISIS might be at the polls for the election and all that to intimidate people and all that stuff. But what I haven't heard is a solution or a remedy. And I was wondering if we had all thought about, had anybody called in, or maybe you thought about our local police being there at the polls. Not only the local police, sheriff's department, state troopers, and even the state National Guard. That being said, the local police, their boss is the mayor of the city. Like here in Atlanta, we have a black mayor, so he's in charge over them. He could have them at the polls.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I can tell you, you're really, really on the right path, Keith. One of the things I can tell you that we're going to announce at the March on Washington is that we're going to have people all over the country that will be at the polls with cameras, and if we got to provide them, but they don't have it, we will. And for them to challenge their local mayors, to have the local police, their local governors, have state troopers. We need to do exactly that. We're going to outline that at the march, and how we set up the numbers and set up the numbers that people can call us to organize it. Because ICE cannot operate if the local law enforcement is there and people are filming. The minute that they know we're going to have brigades there filming this, they got to think twice before they do something crazy. And I think, again, Mike Tyson, the ex-heavyweight champion, had a expression that I always like to hear. He said, everybody got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. We've not swung back at this. We've allowed them to just beat up on us like we don't have a punch. We have a punch. We can fight back. And that's what we're going to lay out on August 28th. But you're right on target, Keith. Thank you for your call. Let me go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio, WERE. Demetrius.
Hey, thank you very much, Sharpton, for taking my call as usual. I just want to speak today I heard on the radio the governor of Ohio. He made an announcement about the Haitians that might be deported back to Haiti. I think this their last week when their visas run out. So he was saying that they are productive, group of people here in the state of Ohio. They have steady jobs, and they mix into the community. So I think they should be aware, they are being pointed out to be sent out of this country, even though they have children here. They're being productive individuals in society, and it's unfair for them to be sent back to Haiti when other groups of people are here who may not be as productive. And also they've been stereotyped as being unruly by the Trump administration when it's not true. So hopefully they will have a means to appeal through the court to justify that they should stay here or get some type of extension because they're not being fairly treated.
Yeah, I don't know what the governor of Ohio is saying, but I've been meeting with Haitian leaders for some time, and we just had a rally, in fact, on Juneteenth Day around this very issue. And I have been dealing with other governors who have been protecting Haitians that's been here, that has a family, that's working here. In fact, I had a breakfast meeting this morning with the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, and that was on one of the issues we talked about, and she has been consistent on that particular issue. I think you're right. It is very interesting to me that the Trump administration seems to target particularly countries of color, and be aggressive with that. And it's now spilled over to, as you could see in the cases in Minneapolis, with Good being killed and Pretty being killed, that once you authorize a lawlessness and recklessness of people that are in law enforcement, they'll do it to whites, as they've done it in Minneapolis. So I think that a threat to all of us is when you do this kind of stuff on a way that is not following the letters of the law, and the law be aligned with what is morally correct. But to target people just from certain countries while you bringing in white South Africans at the United States taxpayers' expense, saying that we're going to give them refuge because they are fighting against white supremacy, when nobody, not even Fox News, has been able to find any examples of people being killed by white supremacy or even threatened in South Africa. You're seeing a clear, blatant racial double standard here. But thank you for your call. Let me go to Reverend Pless in Atlanta, Georgia. Reverend Pless.
Good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you for taking my call. I'll just start out by saying and telling the truth. We really appreciate National Action Network and what you all are doing and how we're banding together. Reverend, I just wanted to just comment on one thing. Seems like to me what I'm seeing, and I was glad to hear what the previous caller also mentioned about the polls, because that was my idea to find out what was going to be taking place at the polls. So you all teaming up with the NAACP as well, yep, and the organizations that's going to be taking place all across the United States.
Absolutely.
Every polling place.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And Rev, this guy is already starting to hit the campaign trail, telling people that he's been better to them than their parents have been to him. And it's just, it just disturbs me. As one caller said, we have fought in every war that this country has had. From before even Frederick Douglass, all the way back to the Revolutionary War. So it's just amazing to me how these people will still put up with this, and put up with this foolishness that we're seeing just take place before our eyes. So that's basically my comment.
I share with you, Reverend, but I also think that as alarming as that is, it's more alarming if we're not pushing back and
yes, sir,
and doing it together. You know, we had a Zoom call the other night, Urban League and all of us on. All of us need to be supportive of the march, but then all of us need to support each other's efforts in each state to secure this vote. This is not about who got the biggest organization or who got the biggest name. Everything is at stake here. This man is trying to wipe us out, and anyone that doesn't take that seriously should not be in a leadership position at all. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Keeping it real.
Breaking news. The issues, the stories affecting you.
I've been in the area since festival, since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Keep hope alive.
Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president. Reverend Dr. Boise Kimber has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up because the people understand the gravity of the hour. And I think that we are called upon at this point in history to do what those leaders of the black church did before our time and in our childhood. So I thank you, President Kimber, for giving me an opportunity to make the appeal to the board itself. You have the information. We're going to have buses from all over the country. Those churches that have buses, we give information. Those that don't, we're willing to help supply them. But we need to show a big number right in the nation's capital. History should not say they stripped us of everything and there was not a national response led by the black church. Thank you very much for these few minutes. thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a
I'm
joke.
your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go to Rick in Germany. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good day, Brother Sharpton.
Good day.
I just want to say that even though you have blacks in the NASA astronaut program and blacks as physicists and engineers in the NASA program, Mars is a waste of time. We are not all going to live on Mars. Even if they send 1, 2, 3, 4 people to take a peep and land on Mars, I think that's pretty close to impossible too, but they might pull it off. But even if they do that, we as a population of humanity are not going to Mars. And I say that because there are things, the politics on this planet are critical not only to black people, but to all humanity. I'm hoping and praying that socialism and regenerative farming take root on this planet so that we may have a fighting chance of surviving the cataclysms and apocalypse to come. I'm done, brother man.
All right, thank you for your call. Interesting, very interesting. Let me go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia. WURD, the word, Disco Brian.
Hey, Rev, I completely want to second Rick from Germany on the stupid, I don't know, fever dream of the world's only trillionaire, Elon Musk, who was just on interviewed by a British woman and insulted her and said that like a I don't know, like a 5-year-old or like Pee Wee Herman or something was kind of did the thing where he was like, I know you are, but what am I? And he concluded that people hate the media more than him, and that people actually like him because he has, 500 million followers on his the platform that he owns. So yeah, Rick, I can't agree more that chasing the dreams of an entitled white nationalist. Have we all forgotten that Elon Musk signaled 2 Hitler salutes behind the presidential podium on what was it, January 21st of 2025? I haven't forgotten it, Rev. Have you forgotten it?
That have I forgotten what?
That Elon Musk, behind the presidential podium in 2025 at the inauguration, did 2 Hitler salutes. You remember that, right, Rev?
I remember him putting his hand up, and that the fact I showed it on Politics Nation. Yes.
Okay, good. It just seems like it seems like everybody has fishbowl memories these days, and have I see people defending Elon Musk, and I'm going, people that I wouldn't think would defend him, and I'm just it just boggles my brain.
But defending him,
Rev,
wait a minute, wait, defending him in what way?
Just as a source of credible information, like his entire career, ever since he became political, obviously he's been aligning with the most white nationalist and Kremlin and Chinese Communist Party strongmen in the world. He gets along with everybody from Netanyahu to President Xi to Erdogan in Turkey. He loves dictators as much as Trump does. So it boggles my mind, Rev, that anybody is, in media is even entertaining interviews with Elon Musk as some kind of credible source. Do you agree with that, Rev?
Why do you call me? I put y'all on so y'all can do it. I don't need to be interviewed on the show. Everybody knows my position.
No.
Everybody knows my position on Elon Musk.
Yeah, Rev. It bothers me, and I just when Rick from Germany mentioned the Mars thing, I just remembered that all goes back to Musk, and it just irritates me. But Rev, I wasn't even going to talk about that. I wanted to ask about the reporting of the comments from former New York Governor David Patterson. And before that, though, Rev, I wanted to ask if you had seen Reverend Jesse Jackson's daughter Ashley's story in the Washington Post about her recent conversion to Judaism.
Yes, I did not see the story in the Post. I saw the story online, and she talked to me about it confidentially during the whole few days we were together with the funerals and all. I already knew about that. Yes, she converted to Judaism. She said her father went with her, Reverend Jackson went with her to the synagogue for one Saturday. Yes, I knew about it.
And Rev, the story is so beautiful. She said that her father was dancing to Hebrew prayers, and that when the Rabbi Sharon Brous, called his name to bless him, the entire congregation stood up and applauded, and that he wept as they honored him. And I just think that is such a beautiful story. And I think, her story offers an incredible model for rebuilding the historic Black-Jewish alliance that you and I, that I always bring up.
One of the things that, and I shared that with Ashley, his daughter, is that when I was a teenager, I might have been 13 or 14, it was somewhere in there, I had just become youth director of Reverend Jackson's chapter in New York under Reverend William Jones, Jenny Jones' father. And Reverend Jackson brought me to the Jewish Theological Seminary. He was going up there, and I was in the car. And a lady named Jermaine Booker, who was a member of Breadbasket, worked there. And he brought me up to her, and he was meeting with, and he introduced me to Rabbi Abraham Heschel. And Heschel marched with Dr. King and Selma. Heschel was one of the leaders against the Vietnam War. And Heschel gave me some of his books and signed them. I have them some 50 years later. So I think that it was always a misnomer that Reverend Jackson was anti-Semitic with the whole issue of Hymietown and all of that. And I think he always wanted to destroy that story. So I think that that's probably why he cried when he got that applause, because I always think he was unfairly charged as an anti-Semite. I mean, you got people to this day that say I instigated the Crown Heights riot when a young 7-year-old kid was run over by a car carrying the the Rebbe, which was the chief rabbi of the Orthodox Jewish sect, and was killed, and people started rioting. I was living in New Jersey. I wasn't even in Crown Heights. I was called by the family of the young boy the next day, and I came out there. Now, I may have been angry and said things that they felt, and later I felt could have been better said as a minister. But I never had nothing to do with the violence. And it was the first night of the violence that Yankel Rosenbaum was killed. You got people that will just to this day, they're old now, say, no, Sharpton incited that. Jackson, because there are people determined to have that division between blacks and Jews. And I think that a lot of people just understand that now. And I think there was a rabbi that spoke at Reverend Jackson's funeral. So I think that not only do I not doubt that he embraced the decision of his daughter, I don't doubt he went to the synagogue with her.
It's just beautiful, Rev, and thank you for clarifying all that. And it, you're right, Rev. It doesn't matter how many times you set the record straight. The haters are just going to hate. I'll
tell you a little secret between you and I. That's what haters do. Hate. They wouldn't be called haters if they didn't hate. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keep it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We were go. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. It was one of the slave houses. Good to see you again, sir. It's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good. Last time, and we
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have the slavery.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
I just feel like the two people that most influenced my life are from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went and spoke at his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. Wow. South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James and Jesse. Yeah. Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people come too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And where I knew Jesse was from James, I started bread bank.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and helped him push the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told him, do you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But no. Robert Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robert Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I lived. I was there.
You true to this?
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Vote to phone Troy.
He was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist. Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in. Oh yeah, sure. Just us.
Just us.
But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected.
Come today. I see the Reverend Jesse Jackson is here. Lord, we thank you for the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I see the Honorable Maxine Waters is here. We thank for Maxine Waters. We see the Reverend Al Sharpton is here. We thank
It is such a pleasure to be here with Reverend Sharpton and this entire congregation on Juneteenth weekend to not only celebrate freedom, but recognize the work that is still to be done to ensure that that freedom is within the grasp of each and every New Yorker who has helped to build this city. Thank you for having me as always.
I've been in the ABSX Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember when my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
You live, Rev.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. I like what Trisha's writing on the message board. Trisha 1989 says, it amazes me that people think you can throw out a slogan or two and change how these new Republicans govern. They are tribal. They ain't giving up an inch of power. You see how they are holding Mitch's seat hostage. I couldn't say it better. She's absolutely right. You will not fight these people without organizing and without dramatizing and staying in their face of your own community to mobilize like they did. You know who's done more marching and presence in the last 10 years? The Tea Party and the MAGA movement. Well, you got blacks sitting around talking about, well, why we got to march? They're rallying all over the place, all the time. Down the white left with no Kings movement. We're the only ones that have one or two meetings and say, all right, that's enough of that. You fight until you win. You stay in the public eye until you win. You don't think that one or two shots and a slogan is going to make something change. Let's go to my A. Spoon Coon. He ain't called me in a minute. From Chicago, Illinois, on the west side. He, I'm sure, still claims it's the best side.
And you know it.
Frank, yes, sir.
Yep. Yes, sir, Ray. Frank for the west side. Good afternoon, my good brothers to everyone. Reverend Al, our pal. Hey, let me first thank you, Reverend Al, for stepping forward when duty called again with the Lona Wells situation.
Thank you.
Let me thank Colin Kaepernick. Let me thank Tyler Perry. And like Pam, we are watching, and we need our elite to step in. I think there's another step they could take that had these people scared to death to touch us. But I'm going to leave that for another conversation. I want to chime in because this, of course, you haven't heard from me in a while. Don't mean I've been trying to get in. I've been trying to get in. Darn good show, hard to get in. But see, the deal with my phone is, Reverend, now at the rings, I ain't counted. At the rings 11 times. If the party doesn't answer, the phone will automatically send you a recording saying the party not answering until you call back later. So by the 11th ring, that's what can happen. So I just been calling trying to get in. But Reverend, now they laying our statesman, I want to say good statesman, that'll be allowed, Lindsey Graham, to rest today, right? I definitely want to chime in about the conversations that were taking place when he first passed. And I'm going to tell you something, Rab. I'm going to tell you one. When it first happened, and what immediately hit me, Rab, you know that story in the Bible. I know you do. I'm saying for the sake of those, you know what I'm saying, who might not recollect it. But remember that part of the Bible where God has blessed the people with an overabundance of harvest on their crops? I do believe Jesus was inside the tent and everything, and they were telling them, and they were saying that don't hold back. Which they told them, if God blesses you with overabundance, don't hold back on what you're going to do in regard to charity to others who are in need. And what's that all told? Now, if you do that, God's going to take you out, okay? And there was a married couple. There was a husband and wife, Reb. I know you know the story. And they did exactly that. You know what I'm saying? They had little faith, I guess, or they wanted to challenge it. And they just gave a normal amount that you used to give to charity. Nothing on the over abundance blessing, the extra they were giving to them. The moment they stepped out of their tent, they both dropped dead. Am I right or wrong, Rev?
That's the book. That's right.
They both dropped dead. Two healthy, fine people thought they can get away with cheating. They wanted to listen to the word of God. Well, when I heard the pastor of Lindsey Graham and the way it happened, Rev, now here we got a healthy 71-year-old man given a clean bill of health, darn good health. Now all of a sudden, a tear comes in his heart, either his heart or a vessel. I know it had something to do with the heart, and there was no saving. Just dropped dead. Okay? I'm going to tell you something. I think what triggered that, Red, what sealed his faith, Lindsey Graham had the audacity. I said, I don't believe he just said that. He had the audacity to say to Donald Trump, and the public will all can hear, oh, Mr. President, you're number 2 under God. You're second to God. I said, whoa. I said, I don't believe he just said that. You know, I think Jesus and the Holy Spirit will have a problem with that. Okay, a serious problem with that, and they want to have a serious conversation with that. I think when Lindsey Graham said that, made that statement, made that comment, I think he sealed his fate, Red. Oh no, you got to go. He sealed his fate. And I'm gonna tell you something. Number 2 message on that is this right here. See, Lindsey Graham was a supporter of evil. Now he was someone you can like depend on. I know y'all heard the background when John McCain was still alive. Lindsey Graham called Donald Trump on the campaign every negative adjective under the sun, except for a child of God, which is not negative. He called him every name you can possibly think of. But the minute this man get in the office, his entire tune changed. He changed to a ring kisser. Okay? Lindsey Graham was a supporter of evil. Lindsey Graham does fight a whole lot of people. He supported taking health care, food, etc., etc., etc. The complete opposite of what God in Christ requires of us. So Lindsey Graham's going to be held accountable. Now, on top of all that, he was a supporter of evil. Okay? And made God's will be done on him. But when he made that comment, I truly believe he sealed his fate. So my message to all those who don't even have enough integrity to come back on the air and say, well, you know something? I was wrong for vote for this guy. I did not know. I'm sorry. I didn't listen to the people. This guy is pure evil. And we are in the main bullseye. The bottom line is this right here. You never know. Like God said, death may come like a thief in the night. You never know when you'll be called to hell to account. You never know when it's going to come. If you're feeling healthy today, 1 minute, next minute, you gone. Next day, you gone. Okay? Just like Lindsey Graham. So I'm telling you, you need to make peace with the Lord. Okay? For the mistake that you make, because the mistake you made is a serious thing on your soul. And last but not least, before you hop off, Rep, I had to come to defense about Mayor Johnson because we are here in Chicago. We're on the inside. And I know Pam may keep y'all abreast. But now they want to attack this mayor for the woes that Chicago is still facing. Okay? But what they're not looking at, no. We got a do-nothing city council. And I've been, when this guest came on one of our shows over the weekend, and he flat out saying that he from out of town, out of state, not even ORA, they're going to try to convince us that Brandon Johnson was not qualified to be the mayor of a big city. Brandon Johnson is not qualified. I said, well, I got to put a stop to this because of the things that are not getting taken care of in Chicago. And when we compare it to New York, I said from the beginning, when that new mayor they got, I said they need all the rest of the mayors, especially our so-called Democratic mayors of these cities, you need to follow this guy's lead. If you notice, everyone who he endorsed get that seat. Okay, now, the difference between what that mayor in New York got, Reb, and what Brandon Johnson does not have here in Chicago, that mayor in New York got a city council that's walking in lockstep with him, Reb. Complete lockstep with him. You know what I'm saying? They let him run his agenda. This city council here, Reb, they got to be on the take. And a lot of them look like us. We got to do nothing city council. Reb, they saying no to everything. Everything this mayor has brought forward. And what could work, especially when it comes to raising tax, making the rich pay their fair share, corporation. Every tax cutting bill, every bill they fought for, him and J.B. Pritzker, the people here was convinced to vote no against it. This city council voted no on everything Brandon Johnson tried to bring forth that would have worked, Reb. I mean, you don't have to be a political therapist or scientist anything to see this stuff. No, it's like they didn't want to succeed. Just like with Lori. But Lori did something that this mayor should have done also. When Lori stepped in the office, she defamed and she declawed the city council. Brandon Johnson gave them back their things they called and they're using against him. So it is not Brandon Johnson's fault. And I tell people, Well, I'm going to do what we all should do. Find out how your councilman voted on things that this mayor proposed. If that councilman or woman did not walk in lockstep with this mayor, that's what we need to get rid of. It's the city council. We got to do nothing city council. The mayor of New York got a city council that's working with them. When you replace them with someone, with people who will walk in lockstep with this mayor. So that's what's going on in Chicago. He's under attack, and we're going to try to beat up on him, Rev. And that's what I wanted to say in conjunction. But I try my best to get in on the Lindsey Graham thing. You don't become no saint just because you pass. Okay?
All right.
Graham
It's good. Good to
you,
hear your voice. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Michael's tax debt with the IRS was...
Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Black. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight in the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started at Harvard with a Black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance as they could fight the victims.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Akeem Smith is on the board saying, Reverend Sharpton, please let me know when we get closer to August 28th to know where me and Mom can board the bus. Absolutely. You should call Christian at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. Tell him I read your thing on the board, and give him your number so we can know exactly where to tell you is closest to you and your mom. And Christian, because I don't want to ask you your number over the airwaves, but Christian will have it and make sure you are contacted. All right, let's go back to the phones. Let's go to the activist extraordinaire in Chicago. We're getting blessed. 2 Chicago back-to-back special people to me. Sister Pam. Sister Pam, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you, and you are certainly special to us.
Well, thank you.
And your reach is global, and we understand the magnitude of that when you come to help families. And let me just say to my dear brother Frank, amen, amen, amen to everything he said, because our mayor is under attack, but we've got his back, and we're going to do everything within our power to keep him in office, because he has the heart of the people and trying to do right. But it's just many of the wealthy and those who just opposed him in his initial election, they're still trying to come to the forefront. But I think we'll beat back evil. That's how I'm looking at it.
Absolutely.
We'll beat back evil. Reverend Sharpton, regarding our relationship with Jewish people, you know I've been calling for years, and I've said that, you know, there needs to be a meeting of the minds with the Jewish community. And I said the relationship has to be reciprocal.
Right.
When they're under attack, they want the black community and everybody else to help come to their defense, rightfully so, because we've had this relationship, right? But we expect the same. And as I am happy for Reverend Jackson's daughter, if that is her, you know, that's her choice and her religious belief, that is fine. But there are many of us who might still be upset with how some in the Jewish community treated Reverend Jackson.
Right.
And even though he forgave them, and of course, you know, his walk and his belief, you know, that is who he is. That's who you are. But many of us are upset. So now let me just say this to our Jewish brothers and sisters. Reverend Sharpton, we have someone in the White House, an adjudicated rapist, who has said and has shown that he is an admirer of Hitler. He's brought people to the cabinet who are giving Heil Hitler signs and using the same terminology that Hitler and his killers used in Germany during the Holocaust. That is clear. That is on record. So now we have Stephen Miller, who is Jewish, but who is one of the most anti-black, anti-DEI, anti-hateful people in the cabinet. I haven't heard Jewish leaders enough denounce him and demand his resignation. I can't fathom a situation where you'd have a black person in the White House cabinet denigrating the Jewish community, and black people, leaders, whether it's civil rights leaders, pastors, organizations, even business leaders, not standing up and saying, we cannot tolerate this, we will not have this. And so what I've asked the Jewish community, and you're not going to label me anti-Semitic, I'm not going to buy into that, because this is a serious critique. You have to stand up to those in your community who are using hate rhetoric, who are using policies to attack black people, to take away our voting rights, our civil rights, attacking Haitians. You had a person say that Haitians were eating cats and dogs.
That's correct.
So all I'm asking is, Reverend Sharpton, for the Jewish leadership, and I mean those in business, those in entertainment, I mean those rabbis, those in the clergy, they must say more, and they must denounce what Stephen Miller is doing. I have tried to contact several Jewish organizations. I have had no response, because my basic question is, when are you going to denounce Stephen Miller and demand that he resign?
Now let me say I totally agree, and I've said that to Jewish leaders, and I've worked with some on anti-Semitic hate crimes and anti-black hate crimes, but they've got to be consistent, and they've got to. What Stephen Miller has done, when you're dealing with people that outright glorify Nazis, you're not denouncing them for us, you're denouncing them for yourself. You can't have a standard where you've got questions about Reverend Jackson because of one word and distort stuff about when I got to Crown Heights, but people are in your face doing Heil Hitler signs and you haven't called for them to be removed from government. So I agree with you, that challenge on Jewish leaders, though we know some Jewish leaders from Heschel on forward have worked with us. I, at the same time, which is sometimes delicate, challenge some of the Middle Eastern Arab leaders who have not stood with us in this country and who has made the deals with Trump. Don't forget, Trump's plane comes from one of them, this new plane. So I cannot hold the Jewish leaders more accountable than some of the Jewish states who are not even fighting for their own brothers and sisters in Gaza. So if we're going to get into a Middle East discussion, we're going to talk about the whole Middle East. When Reverend Jackson was running for president, Jim Zogby stood up. But a lot of Arab leaders was missing. I remember when he went and met with Yasser Arafat, the Jewish community had a fit. Arab community didn't stand up and have his back for the most part there. And on and on and on in the Islamic world. They demonized what Elijah Muhammad was saying. So my thing is, I'm not going to be one-sided on this. Both sides need to show fair and equal relationship. We can have a reciprocal fair relationship with both communities, but that means that you have it on both sides, not that you call us in like the waiter to serve your drinks. And that's in the palaces of the Middle East with the Arabs or with the Jewish community.
And that's all I'm asking, Reverend Sharpton, because what we're seeing that's coming from this White House, we read about the Holocaust, and everybody wondered, well, how could this happen? How, we're seeing it. History is just about repeating itself. And we don't have enough people standing up to this. And I'm in total agreement with the Arab community, because it's about the way that they treat our leadership, the disrespectful way that they conduct business in the black community. Not all of them, but I'm going to say enough of them, where it's detrimental to the community. So I'm absolutely in agreement with you. It just can't be black people coming to the rescue or being allies of everyone else, but when time comes, we're not receiving that same alliance.
Right.
Because right now, Stephen Miller needs to be denounced, and it needs to be public, and it needs to be a press conference about it. That's my opinion.
Right.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton.
And also, let me tell you, this whole idea of dealing with some aspects of the Arab community, and all the Arabs is not the same, because you have different countries in the Arab country. But all of that is a very sensitive issue in Detroit, in Michigan. Cause of you sparked that in my mind when you said it, because some of the store owners, and even in the politics now, you do not have a black congressperson, Democrat, from Michigan. You have people of Arab descent. Well, Rem Williams can talk about it. And I've asked some of the leaders in Detroit, if Jews had done that, would we not been saying something? So let's put it all out there. I am not pro nobody that's not pro me, and that's why I'm not anti-Jewish and I'm not anti-Arab, but I'm gonna hold everybody to a reciprocal relationship. I would have no problem having a reciprocal marriage, but I don't like this dating when you can't find nobody else to date and then throw me to the curb. I'm not going for that. Thank you for your call.
That makes perfect sense.
Let's go to Tim in Brooklyn, New York. Tim.
How you doing, Rev?
I'm doing good.
Rev, I got two questions to ask you. One of them is Todd Blanche. All of this stuff that he's doing, can his license be suspended? I mean, it's so obvious.
I think that if somebody brought him to the bar, there would be very good grounds to raise on that. I think so. Yes.
But who could do that?
Someone would have to file complaints. I don't know where his license is from. I would assume New York, because he was Trump's defense attorney in New York. Let me look that up. I think I'm almost sure it'd be New York, probably Manhattan County, and then who would be what one would have to qualify to raise a question. That's a good question. I've never heard anyone raise that. That's a very good question.
One more question, Rev. Rev.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know when that guy, that wrestling guy, went on the White House and called Michelle Obama a man. Don't she have a defamation big-time lawsuit for that?
I mean, I would think she does if she chose to dignify him with paying him any mind. Yeah, she does have the grounds. I think that's correct. And I just think that, she is the one that says, they go low, we go high. And I always say to her, I'll go as high as I can go. Maybe I can't go as high as you. You got to define high. But, you're right. I think that's clearly. And then, again, if she filed a defamation lawsuit, Tim, does she open herself up to them saying, okay, come in court and prove you're a woman and all that? And does she want to go through a demeaning process like that? So you got to watch where that could go.
She don't have to do that, Rev.
Well,
she got 2 kids. She bore two daughters. I mean,
but this guy's lawyers might demand. Well, we don't know if that's really her daughter's by blood. You just don't know where it would go, and it would get bizarre, and she would not want to be part of a circus. But thank you for your call. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, Sharpton. Be right back. Keeping it real.
Breaking news. The issues, the stories.
I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others. The way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself.
Keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special, special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm gonna keep marching, I'm gonna keep agitating, and I'm gonna keep going.
until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time, Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797, or go to the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And we are happy to be joined by our co-host on our Tuesday show for several years now. He's been out the last couple of weeks dealing with medical problems. I'm dealing with a health issue in the morning. So I understand that the one and only senior pastor of the First Corinthian Baptist Church in Harlem, member of the National Board of National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron. How you doing, Reverend Mike?
Reverend, I'm feeling a whole lot better. I'm glad you said that, Rev, because sometimes people don't realize I have a condition. There's 342 million people in the United States. There's only 6,000 people who have what I have, Rev.
Wow.
So it's a very rare condition. And I've been good. Treatment plan is good. But there are those moments, and I hadn't had a flare-up in 10 years, and it was bad. It took me down. But I thank the people who prayed. I thank you back on Keeping It Real.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you back, and you had called me and told me what happened, and then I have not talked to you since, but I've tore my, meniscus, and I got to get
man.
Yeah, I got to get surgery in the morning, but I'll be right back. They say I can come back as long as I keep my leg up, but I was working out one morning, felt something, but then the next day or so I had a pain and went and had it x-rayed, so I'm glad I caught it because it could have been worse.
Right.
But let me ask you, knowing you while you were down dealing with your illness, you've been staying on top of everything and reading and studying. You one of one of the things that I have to say is one of the things that has most stuck out with me about you, and we've been together now decades, is that you really study. Decades with an S. You really study. And a lot of younger ministers, younger than me, are more performative. But you know how to perform. There's no question about that. People can watch your videos and see that. But you are performing from a real substantive base. And theologically and in terms of whatever was going on in contemporary
ways. Explain to our listeners the difference between that. I know Reverend William Jones, who was both our pastors, was an influence there.
Yeah.
But the difference between that, because a lot of the performative preachers, politicians, don't last.
No, I think, well, you started by saying it right, Rev. I think it is who your mentors were and what you looked up to that shape how you engage the word. You know, Bill Jones was my pastor.
Right.
Through Dr. Jones, I built a relationship with Gardner Taylor.
Right.
When I got to graduate school, Sam Proctor was my advisor.
Wow.
So when you have a Bill Jones, Gardner Taylor, and Sam Proctor who are pouring into you, it is hard not to be substantive. It is hard not to take the work seriously. It's hard not to be engaged in social justice. And I think that, you know, as you alluded to, there is a performative preaching, a performative component, but your preaching cannot be performance. To me, it has to be undergirded by substance, by willingness to engage current affairs and current issues. And, you know, we talk about this all the time, but it's amazing how there's so many African-American clergy who are preaching hope, but they're preaching hope to the negation of the social realities that plague their congregants.
Right.
And to me, to preach the gospel without talking about social transformation is pastoral malpractice in many ways. You can't preach the gospel of personal salvation and in the footsteps of Jesus not talk about social transformation. That's what undergirds the substance of your work. But I tell people, if folks want to go to a performance, we're in New York. You can go to the theater, you can go catch a movie, you can go anywhere. But what we do is about life and giving life. And you can't be so enamored by the attention or the affirmation because of their performance that you forfeit the call and the assignment connected to transformation.
Yeah, and I think that a word of substance, particularly in the challenging times we're in, is like cotton candy. If performance is like cotton candy, that's all right if you're walking around the amusement park and you just want to taste something sweet for a minute. But if you're dealing with some real stuff that we're dealing with Trump's administration dislocating many of the legislative wins and therefore the statutes that it stands on, and our lives are being directly impacted with DEI dead, with our taxes undergirding a society now, a system now, private sector and public, that says you got no guarantee you're going to get a job, promotion, or contract. And then you got voting. I mean, you need more than being able to shout the house, because that's not going to deal with my life challenges when I leave the church and stop my shout.
No, you said it. I think what I realized, and I said to someone the other week, I actually went to the Progressive Baptist Convention, which I haven't gone to in 20-some years.
Right.
And I was talking to another pastor. Part of our work that we're called to do, because of the social context of our work, it demands and it requires us to be prophetic. Now, we know that everyone who preaches is not walking in the prophetic tradition.
Right.
But those who take the assignment seriously have no choice, because you can't see people in your congregation who work hard but can't pay rent, don't have equitable access to educational resources, don't have access to healthy to health care or mental health care. You see this regularly, and you talk about, well, we want to save their soul. Well, what good is it to save the soul but not engage in social transformation? Because that's the lived reality. So that the gospel without social critique is sentimental, and political awakening without the gospel is depleting. And so we have to always keep both in hand, and we have to do the work of assessing. We have to be able to, yes, introduce people to the transformative power of love through God and Jesus, but at the same time, we have to be able to hold the structural systems accountable for the oppressive structures that reinforce poverty. We have to remind people, especially in places like Harlem and like in the inner city, poverty is not your identity and marginalization is not your destiny. So that means we have to maintain a commitment to the social gospel, and for you and I That means being steeped in the Kingian tradition and also allow our imagination, because we've lost moral imagination in this country and in our community. We have to allow moral imagination and imagination itself to help us reframe these institutions, because in times like these, imagination is a form of resistance.
Wow, I love that. Imagination is a form of resistance. I like that. Let me ask you, as we see the legal challenges, Trump now trying to get the Supreme Court to expedite coming in with a ruling to save his SAVE Act and his being able to process what goes on at polls that are usually conducted by the states. As we see the plethora of policies to break, we are both citizens and challenging our local officials, because I think we spend more time talking about the personalities than the policy and the program. We just had a new congresswoman elected in Harlem. I'm more interested in what she's going to stand for than whether it's her against somebody else. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Keeping it real.
Important about the funding, but I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Blacks. We don't want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they are literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, in which they did, started at Harvard with a Black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP Defense Fund together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation, then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in the South.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how
well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
In 1929, a child was born who would one day awaken the conscience of a nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did not inherit a world ready for justice. He inherited a world resistant to it. Yet through faith and fearless leadership, he transformed struggle into strength and vision into movement.
Yes, we're on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We are moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir.
His dream was never meant to live in history books. It was meant to live through us. And today, that vision still lives. It lives through leadership that refuses to be silent, and through those entrusted with carrying the legacy forward through the moral leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton and the continued stewardship of Martin Luther King III, ensuring that Dr. King's dream remains a mandate, not a memory. Through National Action Network, that vision remains active, organizing in the streets, advocating in the halls of power, and confronting injustice wherever it exists. Last year, on Dr. King's Day, we stood together and made a vow to keep alive everything Dr. King stood for, not just in word, but in action. We marched, we gathered, and we recommitted ourselves to the work. Since then, the movement has not paused from the National Action Network convention, where leaders came together to organize and build power, to the Keepers of the Dream Gala, an event established in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to honor those who actively protect, advance, and live out his vision of justice, equality, and service. It is especially meaningful to remember that Mrs. Coretta Scott King was honored at the very first Keepers of the Dream Gala.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
And she did more than honor the dream she protected. At the 2000 March on Washington, Mrs. Coretta Scott King charged Martin Luther King III and Reverend Al Sharpton with the responsibility of carrying forward Dr. King's vision, ensuring that the movement would remain alive, relevant, and unafraid.
And to see them today here warms my heart, because indeed the future of our leadership is in good hands, especially with all the others who are here in support of them. And I want to ask first that Martin Luther King III come forth, and then Reverend Al Sharpton. These young men have done an outstanding job, and we need to continue to support them. I will be there with them, even though I may not be able to walk all the way, but if I have to go in the wheelchair, that'll be all right too. I'll be there. Thank you. God bless you.
And 25 years later, they still stand together. On the 28th of August, 2025, Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III stood side by side once again, not by coincidence, but by calling. On a date forever tied to the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they came together in unity and purpose to keep the dream alive, this time on Wall Street. Wall Street represents power and too often unchecked inequality. So they showed up to declare that economic justice is civil rights and that accountability must exist wherever power lives. Dr. King taught us that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it does not bend on its own. It bends when people are willing to pull it, and we are still pulling. still standing, still holding up the dream, because the work is not finished and the dream still demands defenders. He is a tireless civil rights leader, a fearless voice for justice, and the president and founder of the National Action Network, which proudly marks its 35th anniversary of fighting for justice, equality, and accountability. Please welcome Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. We're back. Reverend Dr. Michael A. Waldron is our co-host. Dr. Waldron, let me take advantage of you back. Take us into the whole framework of what you were talking about, from Dr. Bill Jones to being mentored by Sam Proctor, Gardner Taylor. There's a train of prophetic ministry, a trail of prophetic ministry in our black church world that is different than others. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, one is more legitimate than the other, but they're just different traditions. The prophetic tradition is different from the prosperity ministries. It's different from those that just believe in a Pentecostal worship ministry only. Break down the differences and how they were able to surface historically, because all of them came filling a need at a certain time.
Yeah, no, I think that here's the first thing, Rev. I often hear you talk about how, and we say this, that in our community, in our tradition, is not a monolith.
Right.
There are various manifestations of how we express ourselves, whether it be virtual or otherwise. And at the end of the day, there's no tradition that's better than the next. And then we honor all. We have particular assignments. It's like in Scripture, Paul says, many parts, one body. I think the same thing in ministry and church. There's many parts, one body. But the prophetic tradition has roots in, I think, acts of rebellion from slavery on. You can go back to Richard Allen and the formation of what becomes the AME Church, to those quote-unquote enslaved preachers who were preaching from the same Bible but saw liberation as the focus. The Nat Turner, the Denmark VC, Gabriel Prosser. You can follow a line of persons. And I think that line includes people like Dr. Jones and Martin Luther King Jr. and Vernon Johns. You can call the roll. It is those who feel a particular commitment to addressing issues of injustice, to addressing the social policies that shape this country, seeking truth to power, and holding this country accountable to the beautiful language of freedom that is not often matched in the cultural and social and political practices of the country. So it is, as you said, it's not saying one is better than the other. They all serve the purpose. But when you stand in the prophetic tradition of the people I named, you understand that you have a primary responsibility to not just to not ignore the lived realities of the people we serve, but to make sure that we don't just preach a hope that is devoid of transformation. I tell people hope and optimism are two different things. Optimism depends on the circumstance. Hope depends primarily on the presence of God, so that we don't use the hope simply to survive injustice. We've used hope as a tool and mechanism to reimagine the moment, but also to talk about what justice looks like. So that for us, survival is not enough. It is how we hold this country, hold administrations, hold institutions that reinforce oppression, hold them accountable, and at the same time use our, as I talked before, kind of prophetic imagination to reframe, restructure frameworks that reinforce oppression. So it's one thing, Rev, to point out the injustices. It's another thing to have a vision that seeks to reimagine culture. And I think when you're in the prophetic tradition, there are two sides to this. Name the injustice, critique the institutions that reinforce oppression, and at the same time, build new frameworks, new structures, and help those who live under the realm of oppression reimagine their lives in a sense of thriving. That, to me, is part of the prophetic tradition of the Black church. It's not just about survival. It's how do we thrive in the midst of absurdity and insanity. And we have a history of participating. That's what you do. That's what countless others before us did. It is not because if we only talk about what's wrong and get outraged about what's wrong, that's simply public temper tantrums. But in the midst of naming what is wrong, we seek to reimagine a new day and a new world and new structures and actually push towards what democracy is like and should be. That is prophetic tradition that we stand in.
No, and I'm very, very happy you broke it down like you did, because I think that in some ministries that I've seen, they are good at telling us how to manage our oppression, or manage our inequality. You know, think above it rather than using your mind and spirit to affirm who you are in God, and therefore you would move society because you can't accept anything less than what is fair and equal, rather than manage it by saying, you know, it does not, to me, speak well of a minister that will tell you to sit in the middle of an unfair economic condition and imagine yourself wealthy and just walk in that, and somehow the wealth is going to drop out the sky. I mean, nothing gets me more agitated when I hear that. It is not where you are, it is where your mind is. Well, if your mind is enlightened, you would also have to deal with the inequities that the social structure has set up. Now, if you did something irresponsible, did something that caused your personal financial downfall, that's one thing. But the fact that the data shows that blacks as a whole are economically nowhere equal to whites, and that's why I was said yesterday in one of the story they did in New York Times, I like a lot of what the Democratic Socialists may raise, but they're not talking about race, because affordability is different in the black community than the white community. The medium income level of whites is much higher than the medium income level of blacks. So how do you gauge the affordability issue the same when the income, the mortgage payments, the home ownership is not the same? It's not the same fight.
No, it's not the same fight. And as you said, it's not that we're going to slam DSA, but we have to be critical that you can't approach what you may call injustice without thinking about the racialization of injustice.
Right.
This country has a history of systematically and structurally keeping people of color, in particular black folk, out of opportunities for access and advancement. That is history. So you can't, when you talk about the struggle in certain racial groups, it's not about us. You often hear people, well, how long are you going to talk about this? Well, hold on. If you question black folks, how long are we going to talk about structural oppression?
Right.
At the same time, let's talk about those whose wealth and familial prowess is based on the backs of slavery.
Right.
There's a whole lot of folk in this country, white folk, who are wealthy, and their wealth came because of free labor. So if you're benefiting from that, then you want us to be quiet about the dysfunction, the toxicity that is connected, and the trauma connected to that on this end? That's insanity. So you can't approach this country as if all mechanisms of oppression are equal. Now, we're not going to get into compare to oppression politics or oppression Olympics, whose is worse, but you can't negate that people, the African Americans in this country, were systematically shut out from opportunity. You got to start there. And to want to address the systemic injustice without talking about the systemic and intentional intention to keep blacks out of places of opportunity, then you're irresponsible. And so that's how I feel right now.
Yeah, and I think that in the prophetic tradition that you and I were trained in, it is our job to speak to these issues. And I understand that there are some that feel their ministry is called to do other things, and I accept that. What I don't accept is those that are trying to make people complacent in their situation. You may want to be more spiritual, more Pentecostal, and I have no problem with that. But don't do it denying the social order as it's been set up, because then you're using your calling as a way to hide from the era in which you live. If you believe that God can make a mistake and did not make a mistake, he did not put you and I in this time by mistake. We're supposed to deal and prophesy and minister to the era we're in, not just recite the eras that are past. You can't preach about Moses delivering slaves and you ignore slavery in your time. You need to find something else in the Bible. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Sharpton, Walron, keeping it real. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than...
I've been to the ABS Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you, God.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
I want to turn the floor over to you, ladies.
Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So We see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president. Reverend Dr. Boise Kim has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, and along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up because the people understand the gravity of the hour. And I think that we are called upon at this point in history to do what those leaders of the black church did before our time and in our childhood. So I thank you, President Kimball, for giving me an opportunity to make the appeal to the board itself. You have the information. We're going to have buses from all over the country. Those churches that have buses, we give information. Those that don't, we're willing to help supply them. But we need to show a big number right in the nation's capital. History should not say they stripped us of everything and there was not a national response led by the black church. Thank you very much for these few minutes.
Reverend Al Sharpton has been a steadfast advocate for the power of voting since the 1990s, always encouraging us to get out and make our voices heard at the polls. In these challenging times, there is no better moment than now to stand up, fight back, and vote for what's right. With so much at stake in the world and in our government, it's crucial that we take action and participate in shaping our future.
Keeping it real. I'm your
voice.
host,
Let it be heard.
Reverend Al Sharpton. And we're back, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And, of course, you could go on the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. And I saw several on the message board that was intrigued by our conversation, and that's good. I see Evangelist Ramsey saying, I'm visiting my mom in Yonkers, as I should, and I jump on as soon as I can. Everyone look after your living parents while they're here. God will hold you accountable for how you honor and treat them, especially when they're aging. I agree with that. Pauline McCullough 564 said, Reverend Al, that was a fine suit you had on Sunday on Politics Nation. Okay, well, thank you. I hope it was some fine information we was given, too. And you know, I'll tell you this, Pauline, a lot of people think that, you know, I bought a lot of clothes because went on TV. I started losing weight before I even knew I was going to have a TV show. And by losing weight, I had to buy a new wardrobe. So a lot of the stuff I had, because I couldn't wear stuff where the shoulder pads was down to my waist because I'd lost so much weight. But I'll take the compliment. Don't think I won't. Let me give the announcements. Don't forget Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. And even though it's only Tuesday, I'm already blocking out some of these senators and governors to deal with the whole SAVE Act this week and to deal with the whole question of how they're going to deal with the Supreme Court having an emergency appeal from the president. So make sure you watch both Saturday and Sunday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. You that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut corridor, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally, and this will be the third week, we are at the new House of Justice, 6 Hancock Place, which is really 124th and Morningside Drive. Hancock's only 3 blocks, but it collides right there on the island with Morningside Drive. You'll see the big sign, House of Justice. We've been full the first 2 weeks. You should come be a part of the experience. And one of the things I'm glad some of our listeners from around the country have come. We've had at least people, I stand at the door at the end of the rally and shake hands with everybody. We have at least 4 or 5 families a week coming from, one was there from Atlanta, another from Florida, another from, I believe, Denver this week. And I'm glad to know that you're about it. And what I've added is every week, since we're now in our own building, I highlight a chapter of NAN, so people don't think we just saying we got 138 chapters. I showed them on the live screen while we were doing the main address. And so last week we had the Los Angeles chapter up, and it was 7 in the morning out there. They were there together. They come and have breakfast and watch together the rally. The week before that, I believe we were in Columbus, Ohio, and they're live. So I think it's important to give people their little spotlight because they don't have to be involved. And I think that is so important, so important. Also, if you haven't signed up, first, let me say before I go, if you're not in the New York corridor, you can watch the rally and participate by watching it at Impact Television or www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can go to YouTube/NAN, or you can go to the AME Zion Network. And of course, I'm monitoring every day now those that sign up to be at the march August 28th in Washington. And many of our members of Congress have already said, I'm coming, I'll be there. I want to see the people come. I want to say something to the people. Hakeem Jeffries among them, already confirmed they'll be there. And all of our civil rights groups have been involved, and some of the progressive groups. No King's March leaders are organizing to come to stand up around voting rights, stand up around the affordability issue, stand up around the expiration of the Affordable Care Act, which is strangling a lot of our people. If you have not signed up to get the information of where there are buses near you or what you can do to organize a bus or where to go once you land, sign up right now at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877 626-4651. Dr. Walron, what's going on at FCBC?
Well, Rev, we are still in our hybrid summer, where first and third are in person Sundays and second and fourth are virtual. But something you've heard me talk about since 2020, August 22nd, is our Hope for Harlem event.
Right.
We started this in the pandemic when people were struggling for resources, and we've kept it going. So that is going to be on August 22nd, it's Saturday all day on 116th Street between Frederick Douglass and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. There'll be back-to-school items that we're giving away. There'll be a resource centers. There'll be job recruitment. There'll be activities for children, free groceries, free meals, you name it, Rev. It's been a powerful event for now. This is our 7th year doing it, and we're excited, man, and grateful that we're able to host it with some great partners. DC9 and a few other partners are doing this with us, but it has become a staple in the community in August in the summertime, and we love being of service. That Friday before, the 21st, is our food pantry, but we extend the food pantry to almost become like a supermarket grocery store where people come and pick their own items, not just be given bags of things. And so 21st and the 22nd is Hope for Harlem at 116th and Adam Clayton Powell for the Friday all-day pantry. And then on the Saturday, Hope for Harlem is at 116th between Frederick Douglass and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard.
All right, let's go to the phone. Let me go to Woody in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the word.
Hey, Rev.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Good. I just wanted to say I really appreciate you and Dr. Warren for discussing the issue of slavery, because I just think there needs to be more attention paid to that as it relates to the aftermath of that 400 years of chattel slavery that we had to go through. And when you come on the air and you share your information, and Reverend Warren, this is like a college institution for people who never really graduated school. You get a chance to understand, and in all the getting, you're supposed to get understanding. So I just wanted to thank you and Reverend Warren for bringing us understanding for a lot of the people that didn't get the proper education in these public schools. So that's all I wanted to say, brother. I ain't going to hold you long. I'm going to let you go, but I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your call. No, I that's why I think that, Dr. Warren, it is important to have, and, I like to take a lot of the callers and read a lot of the messages, but I like sometimes when you're on to just talk about some things. Several people on the message board said it's a great conversation, because people need to not just hear the sound bites of callers or even me. They need to hear some more in-depth stuff. And hopefully it will encourage them to go out and with social media now and technology now, you can download things. So when Reverend Walron says Gardner Taylor or Reverend William Jones or Sam Proctor, you can download their sermons and their books. And you have no excuse. When I was growing up, you couldn't do that. You had to go find them, and it was hard to find their book of sermons and all. You couldn't get their tapes. But now that's available to you, and you will see what we're talking about. It's a whole nother level of scholarship and ministry.
I agree with that 100 and more %. I just wanted to thank you again, and thank you, Reverend Warren, for bringing that type of information. Thank you both. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And you have mastered, Dr. Warren, how to deal with that technology / social media piece without losing your depth and your content.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I often say we're in a tragically shallow age. And so where our economy is really an attentional economy, where everyone is fighting for individual attention. But there are practices we have to do to maintain. I transformed this year our Bible study, where every month we change it. 1 month we're in the scripture, and the next month we're reading a book. We just finished reading The Boys and Souls of Black Folk. And people ask me, well, why are we doing books and scripture. I said, because last year, the report came out that 50% of Americans did not read a book the entire year.
That's right. That's right.
And I did not want that to be the case at FCBC. If you stick with FCBC, come to TNT, watch online, you can at least say, if you stick with us, you will have read 6 books in a year. And that to me is important. We have to expand that. We can't get to a point because where there's no reading, there's no expansion of knowledge. And where there's no reading, we lack critical analysis and our analytical abilities. And that's critical in this moment, culturally, socially, and politically.
And like I said, with this new technology, you have no excuse. You can download a book. You don't even have to sit there and read if you don't like holding a book or you got vision issues. You can. I read a lot of books by audio book when I'm flying to a city or so. 2-hour flight. I'm got my headphones on and I'm listening to the book. Some things that I've read, I've redone on the audio book and hear things that I missed reading. So you got to take that seriously. Let me thank Reverend Dr. Michael A. Warren. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened, and you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. And you that believe in prayer, pray for me as I go for this situation in the morning. All right, talk to you tomorrow. We'll be right back.